What is going on, guys? It is your role model of the IWC Gamers Goon here today with the return of the Monday Night Raw reviews. Now, I know what you're thinking. You haven't been doing these for over a year now. You've drifted away from the weekly reviews of Monday Night Raw. That's true. That's true. That's true. I usually only do it on big weekends, big weeks, big shows. But I want to do some more content. So we're bringing back the Monday Night Raw reviews weekly, and we're also bringing in the AEW reviews. We're bringing in AEW every week. Now, we're not doing SmackDown, and we're not doing NXT. We'll talk about those shows when they do have big shows coming. We're going to start slow. We're not going to just do it every day, but I'm bringing it back to the channel. Let's get right in to Monday Night Raw. Now, we started this Monday Night Raw off on a very good note. A better note than we usually start Raw off on. We started Raw off with Randy Orton coming on out and cutting a promo. In this promo, Randy, basically, same old with Randy. He comes out, craps on all the legends, sits there and says Stone Cold, The Rock, they can't even hold a candle to his resume. Because obviously Randy Orton, the youngest world champion of all time, the 12-time world champion, part of revolutionary teams such as Evolution, such as Legacy, and that he's just listing off his resume here and says there's really nobody that could hold a candle to him. And then after this he says, and now I desire to become the WWE champion once again, offering his challenge to Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. And at this point of the night, it is not confirmed nor denied yet, but he challenges Drew for the match at SummerSlam. And then he really says, we can sit here and we can have a conversation between me and McIntyre, whose resume is better. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a very short conversation because my resume is much longer than McIntyre's. McIntyre's resume is one world championship and a 10-year hiatus where he had to come back and work his way up through NXT. And he says, you know what, I respect him. I respect him for his ability to beat Brock Lesnar in quick fashion at WrestleMania. But the problem is that he has what Randy Orton desires, and what Randy Orton desires is obviously that world championship, and Orton says that at SummerSlam, he won't see it coming when he takes that title away, because it's just going to take one RKO, and Randy Orton will become the new WWE champion. Now, this was a very good promo from Randy Orton. It was real solid. It made you excited for Drew McIntyre versus Orton at SummerSlam, the match that needed to happen. Orton's been on an absolute hot streak since before Mania, going in with Edge for about the last 6 to 7 months with Randy Orton. He's been one of the best, going through his legend killer gimmick, going kind of back to it a little bit. Went with Edge. Obviously we've seen Christian recently. We've seen The Big Show. I don't know who else we might see throughout this story with Randy Orton, if we are going to see anybody else. But at the end of the day, Randy Orton's been one of the best, if not the best thing about Monday Night Raw. And at the end of the day, I think he deserves that shot at SummerSlam. I sent out the tweet after the show. I said, it doesn't matter. At the end of the night of SummerSlam, you're going to see one man holding that world championship, and it's going to be Randy Orton. Randy Orton's the guy. I love Drew McIntyre. I love Drew McIntyre's reign. I think Drew McIntyre's done fantastic with what he was given. Obviously, no crowd does light a damper in his title run, and it might not have been as great as it could have been with great fan reaction or whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm getting tired of Drew McIntyre, because that's not the case. I love Drew McIntyre. But I think at this point in time, this is the best moment for them to give Randy Orton another title run. You don't have the fans there, so they're not going to be too nuclear on it. Even if they are, you don't have that live reaction there to be nuclear about it. Plus, I think a lot of fans are seeing what Randy Orton has been doing as of late, and they really respect Randy Orton's grind, because Randy Orton, you can tell, although he's not one of those guys with the indie background, he had to grind his way up. He's not one of those guys that's going to be all fancy in the ring. you can tell his passion for the business with as much work as he's putting into both his character and his in-ring stuff. So I think Randy Orton at SummerSlam is the right call. Some people think it's not going to be the right call. Some people don't think that it's necessary for Randy Orton to be the champion in 2020. I don't know what to tell you. 2020 has been a weird year already. Why not make it more weird? Let's make Randy Orton the champion. He deserves it with all the work he's been doing in 2020 and making Raw actually a show that is somewhat enjoyable. I can't say much for SmackDown, but Raw's somewhat enjoyable with Randy Orton on it because Randy Orton's just that good. Next, oh, by the way, this was a weird transition. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it with the next segment after this too. We had Randy Orton. He's walking to the back. Nia Jax's music comes on, and they walk past each other. Really weird for Nia Jax and Randy Orton to have an interaction. Nia Jax comes out. She says she woke up today just like Randy Orton woke up. She wanted to be the women's champion. Orton wanted to be the world champion. She woke up with the desire to be the women's champion. First off, I have a question. Who wants to see Nia Jax in the title picture? Who? I don't remember anybody ever asking for that. Nobody. So whether or not you want to be the champion, I don't think many people want you to be the champion. So please stay away from the title picture. Throughout going through her spiel, she had Shayna Baszler come on out, and Shayna Baszler says nobody gives a damn what you want, Nia. And that triggers Nia to hit Shayna, and it turns into a pull-apart brawl. And then they go to commercial. And then, coming back from commercial, we had the Street Profits in the ring instead of a match between Nia and Shayna, which is what I expected. But I don't know why that was the case. There was no structure to it at the beginning. You know what I'm trying to say? It was very weirdly structured. You just come back after a pull-apart ball. First people you see the Street Profits. They introduce all three teams in the number one contenders match for their tag team championships. You got the Viking Raiders, you got Cedric Alexander, and you got Ricochet, and then obviously you got Andrade and Garza, who has Zelina Vega in their corner. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. This was a solid match. A lot of people said it was a great match. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a great match. It was a good match. The only problem with this match is I don't think any of these teams really deserved it. The Viking Raiders, they kind of deserve it just because they really never had a feud. They kind of like came together, and I didn't like that or whatever. They never really had an actual feud where a heel versus a babyface. I think the Viking Raiders could fit good into the heel dynamic with the Street Profits. Cedric and Rico, those are two guys that they just paired together just because they had no plans for them. I honestly thought they were going to win the match because that's usually what we see. We see a lot of teams that if Vince doesn't have a plan for this guy and that guy, he puts them together, they're going to end up being the tag team champions. I think that might be a case with Cedric and Ricochet down the line, but obviously that's not the route they went on tonight's show. Instead, they gave it to Garza and Andrade. They let them win. Not a big fan of it. I don't really think those two deserve to be in this. After last week, this dynamic between Garza and Andrade is just it's not a good tag team. I love Andrade by himself. I'm still a little hesitant to say I'm a fan of Angel Garza, but I just don't like the fact that Andrade is being kind of suppressed here. I think Andrade could be easily up with Drew McIntyre in that WWE World Championship picture, or even over on SmackDown. He could be in the Universal title picture. Doesn't matter. He's a main eventer, and they got him kind of suppressed here with Garza. I'm not saying Garza's bad, but I'm just saying I think he's above it. Andrade, I don't like to see him here. At least it's giving him something to do, but at the end of the day, I really don't think those two deserve to be in that championship match at SummerSlam against the Street Profits. I hope the Street Profits win because I'm just not a big fan of these weird tag teams. They are sort of an established tag team, but that's just because they paired them together, just because of Zillion. It's really not an actual tag team that came up in the business together. I want to see those type of tag teams. I don't want to see just this guy and that guy that don't have any plans. We're just going to pair them together. I don't want to see that. And that's sort of what Garza and Andrade are. And I also want to mention in this, are we going to have a storyline with Ivar and Charlie Caruso? Because before this, I believe it was Montez Ford. No, it actually wasn't. It was Angelo Dawkins. I know that because he's wearing the do-rags. But the reason I'm going about this is he said, well, Angel Garza, Charlie Caruso doesn't want an angel on her shoulder. She's actually all in it for Ivar. So please tell me this isn't going to turn into a Mandy and Otis story with Charlie Caruso and Ivar. Please, don't break up another tag team. Don't do it. I'm not. Please. No. We don't need another one of those storylines. We don't need it. Please refrain from doing that. Next, we had Shayna and Nia actually having their match actually not having their match. They had a scheduled match, and before the match began, we had Shayna go after Nia. Actually, the match did begin. My bad, because it ended in a double countout. Early in the match, before the match began, Shayna attacks Nia before the match, rings the bell. They take it to the outside, double count out, less than about 2 minutes. Really pointless to even be on the show. And both of them attacked WWE officials. As of right now, I don't believe Nia Jax has received a suspension, but I believe Shayna Baszler tweeted out that she received a suspension for laying her hands on the officials. So I need to see that Nia got a suspension for maybe like 2 weeks, maybe 2 months, 2 years, 20 years. I don't know, but please, if you're gonna reprimand Shayna, please make it logical, because actually Nia was the first one to lay hands on a WWE official. Just saying. Please don't just blame Shayna for that. And next, why can anybody explain this to me? Why are we having Nia Jax just obliterate Shayna? She was just handling Shayna like a rag doll. I mean, I don't have anything to demonstrate this with. Here, the little Bray Wyatt figure. She's just throwing them around like she's nothing. That's what Nia Jax did to Shayna Baszler. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, Shayna Baszler is one of those women that I think is one of the most legit actual fighters, not wrestlers, but fighters in the WWE. I mean, you could put her up there with a Brock Lesnar. You can put her up there with Ronda Rousey in terms of, like, actual combat action, what they're capable of. And you have her coming out and doing, or just getting thrown around by Nia Jax, a person that I know Shayna Baszler could break her ankle or break her arm or do anything just with one snap. Easy. Shayna Baszler can easily do that. And you have her just selling for Nia Jax. Why? That's why I tweeted it out right after this segment. I really wish Ronda Rousey was still with them. I wish she was here. You know why? Because this crap wouldn't fly if Ronda Rousey was around. I know a lot of people don't like Rousey or whatever because she shooted on the business. She said it's fake, whatever. I've always been a fan of Rousey. I've said it multiple times since she's left. She meant so much more to that division and to the WWE than anybody's going to ever realize. They would have never been in the main event without Ronda Rousey. Nobody would have cared about the Becky storyline if it wasn't for Ronda Rousey. I'm a Becky fan, but the momentum that Becky got from Ronda Rousey was momentum that you're not going to get anywhere else. That's because of how legit Ronda Rousey is. They had the same opportunity with Shayna. They did, but they failed to capitalize on it. If Rousey was still in the WWE today, the WWE would take things much more serious, not in only the women's division, but in the entirety of the company. Why? Because you have a legit combat athlete that is the face of it could be the face of the WWE, but not only just the WWE, but women's sports in general. Ronda Rousey is a household name. And you're not going to let that diminish. So you're going to have to build up legitimate competitors. Meaning, Shayna Baszler, she's not being embarrassed against Nia Jax. Bianca Belair, she's actually on TV. She's picking up a string of victories so that she could be ready for Ronda eventually. Sasha Banks, she's getting her victories. Bayley, you name it, they're making a star just so that it could be a great match against Ronda Rousey. We don't have that anymore. We don't have it. And that's why I said multiple times that Ronda Rousey meant so much more to the WWE than anybody's ever going to realize. If you think about it, if she's there today, not only do they have one more star, means more ratings for them, but they probably have Shayna going up against Rousey. They probably have maybe Asuka going up against Rousey. You maybe have Bianca going up against Rousey. Maybe Rhea Ripley gets brought up going against Rousey. Dream matches after dream matches after dream matches. And that brings in the viewers. That brings in the demographic that you want. Because not only are you making Ronda Rousey your household name, but you're also making a star out of Bianca Belair. You're also making a star out of Shayna Baszler. Because Shayna Baszler losing to Ronda Rousey is not that big of a deal. Shayna Baszler getting thrown around by Nia Jax, not only is she not a household name, not only is she a sloppy wrestler, not only do people not want to see Nia Jax, but Nia Jax, just coming off of an injury, it hurt Nia Jax. Just throwing around Shayna Baszler, who's, mind you, she's been off TV, but we definitely know for the last year she's been in much better in-ring condition. She hasn't had the injuries. She is ready to go. She should be properly able to fight or fend for herself against Nia Jax. And that's why I was really disappointed in this segment. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was good for Shayna or if it was good for Nia. It made Nia look strong, because that's not the case. It didn't make Nia look strong. It made Shayna look bad. And not just bad, horrible. And that sucks. And that pains me to say, because if you've watched me, you know I'm a Shayna fan. I've been one of the few that I mean, there are fans of Shayna, but a lot of the people sit there and say, she's a boring wrestler. I'm a big fan of Shayna. I went out and said it on NXT reviews. I went out and said it on takeovers. I went out and said it on pay-per-view reviews. WrestleMania 35. My bad. WrestleMania 36. Who did I think should win? Shayna Baszler. What was my explanation? Because she's that legit. And I voted against my all-time favorite women's wrestler in Becky. You know that Shayna Baszler has it when I'm sitting here telling you that. Please turn things around with Shayna Baszler's character. Have her come in and absolutely obliterate everybody. I don't know if you guys remember this, but just 8-9 months ago, Shayna Baszler came in when she was in that feud with Becky. She was just wiping out the entire locker rooms. She was just going through everybody. Now she can't beat Nia Jax. Think about that. All right, let's get into another highlight of the show. We have Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah, coming on out. He asks Rey Mysterio's son, Dominic, to come on out to the ring so he can confront Dominic, obviously, to talk about their differences that they've had. Seth, very good promo here. I'm going to shorten it for you. Seth says he's a benevolent man. He understands that Dominic needs something, or needs to get something off of his chest. And then he says, you know what, Dominic, I'm here for you. I'm here to offer you my guidance. I'm here to offer you my support, Dominic. He goes in for the hug. Dominic takes down Seth Rollins, and that incites Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins to two-on-one Dominic, which leads to Aleister Black coming on out to aid Dominic. Obviously, Aleister Black last week with the arm, kind of targeted for a little bit there, keeps throwing him into the to the barricades. They throw Aleister Black in while that's happening. And then to conclude it, we have Seth Rollins sitting there telling Murphy, you know what you need to do, Murphy. You know what you want to do. You know what you need to do. And he sits there, and Murphy's like, I can't, or whatever. He looks at him, he says, this is your moment. Look, think of everything Aleister's done to you. Think of the pain he's put you through. Think of the losses he's handed you. Do it. Murphy takes Aleister and goes to the steps, does the same thing Seth did with Rey, piercing the eye with the steps. And then that incites Dominic to come on over with the kendo stick, get a few good shots on Seth, as Seth and Murphy scurry away to the gorilla position, obviously. But it was a very good segment. I think we're on the path to seeing possibly a Dominic and Seth match at SummerSlam, which is something I would want to see. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Dominic's a great wrestler, because obviously none of us know whether or not he's a great wrestler. The only people that know that are him and his trainer, maybe his dad. Obviously Seth, if he's willing to work with him, I'm imagining that he's probably working out with Dominic. If that's the case of them actually having a match, because we do know Dominic wants to get into pro wrestling. But as of right now, I think that might be the path that we're heading on for SummerSlam. Maybe even a Rey Mysterio return to be in Dominic's corner, since obviously Murphy will more than likely be in Seth's corner at SummerSlam. So we'll get to see, more than likely, I think we're going to get on a path where we're going to see Dominic and Seth at SummerSlam. I think it would be very interesting. Next, we had Mustafa Ali and R-Truth. They had a little segment. Truth asks about Ali going on the VIP lounge of MVP. Says, "What are you trying to win the 24/7 championship?" Ali says, "You know what? I'm just there to get my match against Lashley. I have no interest in Benjamin. I have no interest in that 24/7 title. I just want to face Lashley." And MVP, or not MVP, R-Truth walks away saying, "I'm keeping my eyes on you, Mustafa, not Mustafa, Mustafa." So it was a little comedy spread out throughout the show. Then we get into the VIP lounge, which was an absolute waste of time. We had obviously MVP Lashley and Shelton Benjamin out there. Ali says his friends put the Hurt Business out of business. Ali then goes on to claim he's happy that he's had the opportunity to come back and he has the opportunity to become a champion. MVP says, "You know what? I understand. But the only problem is you need to be with us if you want to be a champion." He sits there and he tries to offer Ali an offer to join the Hurt Business. But Ali says he's in business for himself, not for others. MVP then explains how Apollo took the same path that Ali's about to take, and look where he is. He's at home, injured. He's not injured. I'm pretty sure he has COVID, but as of right now, he's injured per storyline. And then he says, "You have a choice right now. You can either become champion or you can become chum. Make your choice wisely." Ali says, "You know what? I stand by my answer. No." And then MVP, obviously the same thing he always does. "Well, you made the wrong decision." But before anything happens, you have R-Truth come in, try to roll up Shelton Benjamin to win the 24/7 championship, which did not happen. And then we go to commercial, and we come into the match of Mustafa Ali versus Bobby Lashley. Very pointless segment of the VIP lounge. I don't understand why you would set up a whole VIP lounge and then go into a match. Why would that, what happened in that, the back and forth between MVP and that, not happen during the match? You know what I'm trying to say? Because you could have all Mustafa Ali and Lashley come on out. They're about to fight. MVP says, "You know what? Stop. I'll offer you a chance to join the Hurt Business." And the same thing happens, except you don't have to set up a whole set. They set up a whole set for this, and then let them fight. Why? That is so pointless. It was a waste of everybody's time. Should have just done it before the match, instead of making it a whole segment by itself. Even though we knew Ali and Lashley were going to have a match. Very pointless match. Put Lashley over. What did you expect? Ali's return hype is finally over. He's been back for what, 2 weeks? Man can't catch a break. They're already pushing him back down, and people want to sit there and say, "Well, he's not buried." He literally lost all of his momentum to Bobby Lashley. I'm not saying Bobby Lashley's not doing well. What he has going on right now with the Hurt Business is okay, better than what he has been involved in. But let's think about it like this: you have somebody just returning. He already loses his second match back. There's not much hope. He's not going to win a championship anytime soon, and if it does, it doesn't make sense. He's probably going to be MVP for the United States Championship, which at the end of the day doesn't even really matter, because that championship doesn't mean anything, because Apollo is your actual champion. By the way, I don't know who wanted to think about this logic. Why did Stephanie McMahon come in last week and say that Sasha wasn't the rightful champion when Sasha actually pinned the champion? Now, yes, she did tap out, but she also pinned Asuka. There was no submission, no pinning, no count out even. The match didn't happen. It just got called off, waved off, and they changed hands to MVP. So where's Stephanie McMahon's energy for that, huh? Where? Um, Next we had Banks versus Asuka for the Raw Women's title. Don't get me wrong, this was a really good match for the most part. Once again, a lot of people had an issue with the ending. I sort of have an issue with the ending. I understand what they're doing with the ending. You have to make it realistic though. You shouldn't have had just random cameras popping up at the end of a match. After all Asuka has to do is lock in one submission move and Banks is done with, because Asuka had the upper hand, really just over at that point. But just the weirdest camera cut onto the big screen made it seem, what they should have done is make it look like Bayley somehow just manipulated her way into the cameras or something. Maybe see her in the production truck changing the camera onto herself, but the cameras just randomly turn on and she's beating up Kyrie, and she throws Kyrie into the door of I believe it's a garage door type of thing, for where the trucks load in and out at the Performance Center. She just kept throwing her into it, and Kyrie's sitting there crying for Asuka to come help her on the big screen. Obviously, Asuka has some compassion. She goes and to aid her friend, and that incites a count out from the referee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Asuka is counted out, and Sasha Banks wins the Raw Women's Championship. Bayley comes on out because she left Kyrie in the back, and Asuka and Kyrie are going to the doctor's room. And after that, we have an interview with Asuka about the condition of Kyrie, and the only thing that was done in this from Asuka is she was crying. She was visibly upset, and she's screaming a bunch of words. And Kyrie, we knew it. We knew it was coming. Kyrie is done with the WWE. She tweeted it out that, thank you for all my fans. Thank you for the WWE for the last 3 years. Thank you. It really sucks to see someone like Kyrie go, because I don't really think we ever got to see her fullest potential on the main roster. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that she had a horrible main roster run, because that's not the case. What she did with the Kabuki Warriors was good for the most part. It was the best part of the Raw or of the tag team division outside of Banks and Bayley. But it was real good stuff from Kyrie with the Kabuki Warriors and her relationship with Asuka on the main roster. Obviously in NXT she was really good, but I really wish she would have got a Raw Women's Championship or even a SmackDown Women's Championship opportunity, and really just had a good run with it before she left. And it really sucks to see somebody as talented as Kyrie go away from the WWE, and possibly be done with wrestling in general, because I do know there's some rumors about her possibly just retiring. I will sit here and tell you, a lot of people are going to sit there and on Twitter, they're going to be guessing where she's going to go. I'm going to sit here and tell you, don't worry about where she's going to go. She's going to go where she wants. Let the woman be happy with whatever she chooses. She wants to go into retirement. Great for her. It's been great seeing Kyrie. So at this point of the podcast, I want to tell you, not just you, but Kyrie, everybody watching, if you are watching, thank you, Kyrie. We really do appreciate what you've been able to do with the WWE over the past 3 years. I know at times it might not seem like everybody's in or just invested in you, or the business might not all be in your favor at once or whatever, but the fans, we see your talent. We know how great you really are. So keep it up, and whatever you decide to do on your next adventure, just know that we'll be there supporting you still. Whether it's AEW, Impact, whether it's retirement, whether it's Ring of Honor, maybe back to Stardom. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and predict where she's going to go, what she's going to do. just know that, Kyrie, we're all thinking of you. Hopefully you have the best future for yourself, whatever you decide to do from now on. So let's get on to Murphy versus Carrillo, a match that nobody should care about. I don't care who you are. It didn't need to happen. Carrillo, all he does is lose. All he does is lose, no matter what. Just get off the TV. Murphy wins. Murphy should win. He's with Rollins. Nobody cares, though, so let's move on. Next, we had Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, this time, Drew McIntyre got to pick his stipulation against Ziggler, and his stipulation was an Extreme Rules match, and not this time where it's just one way. Ziggler could fight. He gets to do it now, too. He doesn't want that advantage. He just wants Extreme Rules. Both men could do whatever they want. And I think we all know what happened here. Drew McIntyre beat Dolph Ziggler within an inch of his life, like he should have. Then after the match, we have Randy Orton coming on out, RKOing Drew McIntyre, holding the WWE Championship around his waist to close Monday Night Raw. That's the sight you're gonna see at the end of SummerSlam. That's what I said on Twitter. That's what I'll say here. That's the sight you're gonna see at the end of SummerSlam. This wasn't the worst show of Raw. I will say it's probably gonna get low ratings just because you put Murphy and Carrillo right before the main event, so people were probably tuned out. On top of that, I don't know how much people actually cared about Ali versus Lashley. But the stuff with Seth was good. The match with Sasha and Asuka was good, but the ending needed some work. Obviously, seeing Kyrie more than likely be done with the WWE could be a generator, but stuff with Shayna and Nia, I think you know how much I hated that. The match with Andrade and Garza wasn't a bad match by any stand, but you know how much I don't like the sense that it made. It just made no sense to me. So, it was okay, I guess. And what else do we have on the show? In the opening promo. So, if you haven't watched the show, I would recommend the opening promo. I'd also recommend possibly watching that number one contenders match, watching the Seth promo, and then obviously the Sasha Banks match with Asuka. For the most part, that match was really good. So, anyways, I'm gonna head on out of here. Thank you for tuning in to the return of the Monday Night Raw reviews. But for now, it is your role model of the IWC Gamers, Goon, clocking out.